Hello, people. Hello, hello. Before I start with this one, I'm also going to go live on TikTok at the same time. Yes, at the same time. So as I'm going live over here, I will also be like going live over there. So in the meantime, that the people on here, we already live on TikTok. We are live on YouTube. It's working well. All right. So if you see me switching from one screen to the other screen, that has to do with the fact that I'm live on two platforms at the same time, which makes it a lot easier for me to talk about certain things, right? So, good evening. Retry, because at first I was at TikTok and I was like, nah, this message also has to go on YouTube as well because I've been posting a lot of the content that I have here on TikTok as well on YouTube. And that is to incorporate, of course, as many people as possible, as many people that are having startups, that are having, there are founders, so as many people that are independent creatives, independent artists, maybe you're an entrepreneur, maybe you are a business owner, and you might be thinking, well, why would any of those people be sitting here on a Friday listening to what it is that I have to say? Because I am myself some of the things that I've mentioned. I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm a business owner, I'm a creative, I'm also an artist. I'm also a founder of a new platform that I've created that has to do with Caribbean language. So I am all of the things, and I've also underwent a lot of things. So most of it is coming from, of course, an academic background. Also, a lot is coming from practical use, and much more of it is also coming from constantly learning, constantly developing and sharing that information, gathering people into the community, because I can understand. Good evening, welcome into the live. You're on TikTok. I can imagine how hard it can be for people to focus on the amount of information that is coming in. So on TikTok, I already said TikTok is already built as a system, and YouTube as well, and many other platforms as well, are built to sustain and gather your focus, gather your attention. And that's why I actually named this live precisely that way, is why can't you focus? And it's not to make you feel any type of way. This is not to point the finger, it's not to demonize you, it's not to make you feel like you're doing something wrong. Because right now, there are a lot of things happening that will make it really hard for us to focus, a lot of external factors. But those are not the factors that I'm going to talk about, or would like to introduce you to it as well, right? Because I find that also important, that if you have something that resonates with you, that you have the ability to also respond to that. Because your feedback is just as important for me as my information is to you as well. Welcome so much into the live. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you might be on this great, beautiful green planet. It's still a beautiful green planet, people. It still is. With all of the things that are happening, it's still a beautiful planet. So when we're talking about focus, I'm not talking about something in general, right? Because in principle, right, when you look in the essence, everybody can focus. And a lot of what we have gathered when it comes to the information that we know about focusing has to do with, well, I need to focus for my work, or I need to focus on my goals, or I need to focus because I really want to better my life. There's always a particular result that we would like to achieve with our focus, right? A milestone that we would like to achieve with that. And crazy enough, right? You can take time out of it, but we have very much been conditioned in the workplace, academically, in school, even with development, even with the platforms that we're using. It's very much time based, because studies, scientific studies, you in practice, right, in a practical sense, also have noticed that it is very much time based focus. A lot of people say it as well. I cannot sit here for 30 minutes and just listening to people. I can't do that. I cannot be watching a video for 20 minutes. I cannot be doing that. Or I cannot, sit during a meeting for 30 minutes and really focus on what it is that people have to say. It's very much time based. And that has to do with the fact that we have been conditioned in a time based manner. It started at school, right? It started when you were young. It started as soon as you were here on this planet, that everything is time based. And it is pretty much here on this planet, very much time based. You will notice it at your work. You will notice it just in practice in life. Welcome into the life. Welcome into the life, people. I would really appreciate for the people that are coming into the live, engage as much as you possibly can. Sit, listen to the information, let it absorb, right? Let it absorb. This is very important when it comes to focus as well. We tell ourselves a lot of times with focus what we're going to do with it. It is as if you are commanding your brain to do something with it. But beliefs also play a huge role with it. And I just mentioned a couple. I cannot sit for 30 minutes. I cannot sit for 50 minutes. I need to do something. My mind wanders. And yes, there are people that have, certain conditions, very understandable, but that is not the case for a gross of people. Not everybody has ADD or ADHD or any of those conditions. And I'm saying that with the utmost respect. Not everybody has that. A lot has to do with the fact that we are working against the way that our brain is processing information. And very much it's just time managed, time based. I can already guarantee you, for the people that are watching outside of the live that is on TikTok. So for the people on YouTube, when I'm looking this way, I'm looking at the people at TikTok. For the people on TikTok, when I'm looking at this way, I'm looking at the people at YouTube. So what you will notice is that videos are 60 minutes, 60 seconds, 1 minute, what more, 10 minutes, 15 seconds. And what you are slowly doing and what you are deepening yourself into is basically giving your brain a piece of digital candy, like a jujube. When I get to finish or get to the center of this video or the center of the live, if I can get something out of it, yes, dopamine, good feeling. Okay, and now I scroll to the next one. And if I'm not getting it fast enough, if I'm not getting it quick enough, if I'm not getting it right away, then it feels like a punishment. It feels as if you are punishing yourself. You're almost also telling yourself that, right? Ugh, the worst 30 seconds of my life, the worst 1 minute of my life. Jesus, I could have seen something else. And somewhere I'm not punishing and I'm not saying, and I'm not going to sit here telling people, well, that is a bad thing. Not at all. I'm not saying that to people. Because somewhere time is of the essence. We are living here on a planet that is time-based. We have to deal with deadlines. We have to deal with the fact that things have to be finished tomorrow. We have our own goals. We have, an attention span that is only for X amount of time. That's not forever. And it's not supposed to be. So that's a good thing. It is not supposed to be that way. It's not supposed to be that way. Why not? Because your brain has only that much that it can process. It has only that much that it can process. And a lot of the things that we are doing when it comes to achieving your goal, having your focus, also has to do with repetition. If you might have noticed, when you are on a social media platform, and I like to use social media as a good example because most of us are on it. I'm speaking to y'all through social media, right? Welcome into the live. Welcome. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome into the live. It also has to do with repetition. You are repeating a particular act. You have now created a habit, and that habit is leading to a particular result. a digital candy, a digital you jujube that says every time you finish that habit of scrolling, of swiping, of watching, engaging, typing, reacting, there is a reward that comes into your body, into your brain. So repetition in focus is very important. And I'm not saying something strange, because the fact that you are jumping maybe from one life to the next, or going from one video to the next, is already proving that what I'm telling you. It is very much proving that what I'm telling you. But it doesn't explain yet, right, why you cannot focus. But we have to rearrange a little bit the thinking, the concept of what focus really is, right? Because the problem is not necessarily that you cannot focus. The problem with it is that for a lot of people, the reason why you're doing something might not be completely clear. Why are you here on this particular social media platform? Why do you have to sit 8 hours at your job? Of course, to make money, but there is a certain process that goes beforehand of the things that you would like to focus on and you want to get a result from. As an artist, as a business owner, me, myself, I have many interests, right? I have many interests. I love the painting, community building. I'm here on the platforms. Next to that, I'm also creating courses and master classes so that I can teach other people about what it is that I have learned, I have developed through my own business, things that I find very important. And there are many things. So for me, it's easy to get distracted and easy to get unfocused. But one thing that I've learned from it all is if I do not know why it is that I'm stepping into a particular process and what that is, what is the chain of activities that I have at hand, right? If I don't know what it is that it's about, if I cannot put them into particular camp bases, kind of like a Mario Bros. Oh, I'm really telling my age right now. Kind of like a game, right? You have to finish one level before you go to the next level, and then you go to the next level, and then you go to the next level. And that's when you get the full result. But I have to know, what are these levels part of? What is it that I'm doing? What is it that I'm part of? What am I focusing on? What's the value of it? So it's not that you cannot focus, but the reason why you're doing what it is that you're doing is kind of lost for most. And not even kind of, very much lost. Have you ever asked yourself, why are you doing the tasks on your to-do list? Why are you cramming all of these tasks in an 8-hour workday in order for you to get it all finished? Have you asked yourself that? Have you asked yourself why it would be very efficient for you to do that in that particular way? And why is it so much based on time? Why does it have to be 8 hours? Why can't you just focus on the result? Why can I be that? Right? Why can it not be that? So when it comes to knowing what it is that you would like to do, knowing what it is that all of these chapters, I call them chapters, those tabs that are all open in your minds. These are chapters. These are all part of your to-do list. We want to see everything at once, because right now that is how information is also being given to us. Everything is happening all at once, at the same time. at the same moment. We all want to be aware of each and every single thing at the same time, at the same moment. We're getting so much information at the same time, at the same moment, simultaneously. Your brain is getting fatigued. You get fatigued. The moment that people are asking you to make decisions, you don't know how to make decisions because you are so focused on having everything happening right now in this particular moment. It's kind of like having a fear of FOMO. I'm saying it wrong. Having FOMO, because FOMO is the fear of missing out. I talked about this before, but it's not really weird, now is it? It's the fear of missing out. If I don't have this piece of information, well, what about this piece of information? Well, what happened here, or what happened before, or what happens after? All of that is happening at the same time. But it's fatiguing you. Your brain is getting really tired. Your brain is not built to process information in that particular way each and every single time. Not in that particular way. So when you are someone who is highly creative, you are very artistic, you are an independent artist, creative, you're a business owner, you might be an entrepreneur in the creative field or use a lot of creative thinking. Maybe you have a startup, maybe you are a founder. High achievers, high performers. It is very much that your artistry, your creativity, you can't scale that. You cannot increase that with the amount of information that is coming in, with the demands that are coming in to you as well. Right? Everybody's giving you information. Everybody's demanding something of you. Everybody is asking something of you. Can you do this? Can you do that? Here's the information. This is what you need to do. Here you need to look at. You need to be here. You need to do that. All of that. So when you get all of that, your brain is not built, and you are not built, and you're not supposed to be processing all of that information all at once. It doesn't make you more efficient. It doesn't make you more effective. It doesn't make you more intelligent. It doesn't make you smarter. Are there people who can do that? Sure. But it doesn't make you at the most effective and efficient point where you possibly could be in what it is that you want to achieve. Which also questions the answer. Why can't you focus? And the reason why people a lot of times have so many tabs open, three things that I've mentioned. I think I've mentioned that somewhere in a TikTok video. I mentioned that a lot of times it's control, right? You want to have control over the situation. So if you have as much information as possible in front of you, then you feel that you have things under control, which is not true. It's not true, right? It can be fear. I just mentioned it, fear of missing out. If I miss one particular information, oh my gosh, what could have happened? What could have happened if I had that piece of information? Fear of missing out, FOMO, fear. Let's just call it fear, because it can also be fear of something else, fear of failing, fear of being successful, whatever it might be, fear. So you have control, problem, fear, problem, but also a skill problem. You probably are not really aware of what it is that you want to do. What is it that you would like to achieve? What are these results? Because we try to put it all into one heading. This is the result. Let's bring everything together, all of that information, all of those pieces. So let's bring it all together. Let me put everything in front of me so I have a clear vision of it. And now I can do it. Now I'm going to check everything off. It doesn't work that way. How many times have you not pushed activities that were on your to-do list or in whatever type of program or software that you're using, or maybe just a piece of paper that you are using, and you are moving it from one place to the next place, to the next day, to the next day. Mañana, 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 mañana. We all know it. Mañana, 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 mañana. That is not how you're supposed to be working. Good evening, people. Welcome into the live. Welcome into the live. That is not the way that you're supposed to be working. That is not how you focus. This thing called multitasking, it should be very minimal. Very minimal, because you saying that you're a multitasker might be good for the job, the corporation, or the commissioner that you're working for, if you're an artist or creative. Or if you are building a community, it might sound very, very good, very braggadocious that you're saying that you're a multitasker and you can do everything at once. But to be quite honest with you, being a multitasker is not the flex that you think it is. Overwhelmed, eventually you cannot concentrate. Concentration means literally bringing all of your attention to one single focus point. That means concentration. So if concentration is that, what makes you think that multitasking is really helping you concentrate? Not at all. And multiple tasks, the chances of you eventually in the long run having multiple tasks run smoothly, efficiently, is not going to work. Because some are going to be done really well and some will be done so-so. A little bit of this and a little bit of that. And you notice this as well. So the question, why can I not focus, has more to do with what do I know about what it is that I want to achieve? What's the process, right? What's the result? What are the phases that I need to go through for me to eventually get into the result? And here's another thing that a lot of people do not get into it as well, which is your brain has just a limited amount of I wouldn't say a limited amount of space, because your brain can store a lot of information, but the way that it processes it through time is not endless. It's not endless. Let me give you a really simple example, right? Let me give two. So when you're here on social media, right? And it can be anything. It can be LinkedIn. It can be on Instagram. It can be Facebook, the meta platforms. It can be TikTok. Eventually, the longer that you're scrolling, the less satisfying that it is. And because you're looking for that digital jujube, that digital little piece of candy, you keep on scrolling until you get it. A lot of people won't stop. Instead of you saying, well, this is not useful for me, what am I doing? Let me put it away and do something else. People keep on scrolling until they find that piece of jujube that says, oh, finally. But the result is not the same, because the body gets conditioned into that. The same thing happens also at your job with projects that you have. Maybe you're included into certain communities and you are someone of influence. The more that you are trying to focus on multiple things for a long period of time, or you're trying to get that high, or doing all of these activities back to back to back to back, it doesn't feel the same anymore. And you will continue until you get that satisfaction that says, I've done it. That's also a reason why high achievers, high performers can really focus, zone in on something until they get it done for a long period of time. But after that, exhaustion. Very much exhaustion. And I already said, furthermore, what I talked about is, of course, external factors. There are external factors, and there's something that you just cannot do. We cannot have an influence on that. Not that much, right? There's so much happening politically. There's so much happening economically. There's so much happening maybe in your life. So that is more the internal factors. personal factors that also play a role in that. And they all can have an effect on how you focus. But what you have to learn to do is categorize. You have to put them into their designated places. Because what you notice is that people are walking around with the whole world on their backs. You're walking around as if you're Atlas. You're Atlas. You're walking around with the whole world on your back. Nobody's benefiting from that. What makes you think that you're going to benefit from that? You're not benefiting from that at all. And it's not to say that those factors don't play a role, but what it leads to, and I hope that people are listening very carefully to this, wherever you might be, whether it's outside of the live or into the live, one thing that you really have to take into consideration is that the moment that you are carrying all of these focal points and you only got two eyes, that's so funny. You got two eyes, but you have all of these focal points, all of these pieces of information that are being given, being asked, being taken, being pushed, being force fed. With all of those pieces of information, you become very reactive. You become very reactive, not responsive, but reactive. And your focus is a very interesting but also desirable piece of good. Excuse me, a very desirable piece of good, which needs your reaction instantly. You need to meet the deadline. You have to be here. You have to be there. We have to, create this. We have to do that. An exhibition. We need to start up. We need freelancers. I'm just mentioning a couple of things, just examples. But what it does, it makes you very reactionary. It's as if somebody's stepping on your toe and then whoop, you're reacting on it, right? Instead of just responding. So that means there has to be some lead time in between what you're getting as the information and what comes out as the response, as the answer. There has to be some lead time. There has to be some time that allows for you to process the information. Sometimes it needs to be very quick. I get that. But there has to be a response. A lot of us are working from a very reactive point of view. Some of the internal factors that also play a role into that is, of course, peer pressure. You need to get it done now because your peers are doing it already now. Peer pressure. A lot of people are also dealing with peer pressure, what the other person is doing, how the other person is achieving their success, how the other person is winning and you are not winning yet. So now you're not only focused on what it is that you are doing, but you also focus on what the other person is doing. That seems to be also a very challenging factor. That's the right description for it. Adjective, challenging. I wouldn't say problematic, but challenging. It's a challenging factor. It is a challenging factor. All of the activities that you have in your agenda and then also thinking about what it is that you would like to achieve for yourself makes it also very challenging. But here is where we have to learn to set the priorities. Here is where we have to learn to set things, like I already said, in the right category. You have to compartmentalize certain things, which leads to you also understanding maybe you have to look at some resources to help you with that. The simplest one is, of course, putting a timer on your phone. That's the simplest way. It's putting a timer on your phone, right? But that is on one very specific basic level. Because if you are an entrepreneur, when you're a business owner, when you're getting and you're out and about and you're meeting people and you're in your projects and you're asking for funding for the next pitch or for the next thing that you would like to do, then having those timers is just your agenda. So that is just simple. That is the basic, the most basic thing. But what you're actually looking for are resources that help understand for you what your role acquires for you to do and what certain things are that need to be delegated somehow or to someone else. And that doesn't look like you going to someone and ranting about what it is that you cannot achieve for the rest of the day. That's not what it looks like. That's not what it looks like. That is not you being reactive and then responding to it by, I can't deal with this and I cannot focus and I can't concentrate and all of this. That is being that is being reactive. That is exactly what it is where you are. You're being reactive. You ranting about not having much time is being reactive. So how can we change that? Or how can you change that into being responsive? How can you respond in the way that you're processing information? Where can you ask yourself in what it is that you're doing and say, wait a minute. And I've said that this in a video before on TikTok. It's not too long ago where I said, you cannot be the queen and the worker bee at the same time. It's not possible. I've also posted it here on YouTube. You cannot be those things at the same time. You cannot be the worker bee and the queen at the same time. The people that are the worker bee, the queen, the assistant, the project manager, the social media marketer, digital marketer, your mind is in all the tabs. Your tabs are completely open. You have 99 tabs that are open. And that's why you are so reactive. But yet you keep on telling yourself, I want to have control. I have FOMO. I don't know really what it is that I'm doing. And because these beliefs are in your mind, you're becoming reactive to it. You're not sitting still and being like, well, is that true what I'm telling myself? First of all, is it true? Secondly, if all of these 99 tabs are open, what's going on? How is it possible for you to get the work done? And why would you think that you can do the work then simply completely by yourself? Even if you are a solo entrepreneur, you cannot do everything completely by yourself. You will have to look at someone or something or somehow, so a method that will help you rearrange the tasks so that you are great at what it is that you do. So if that is running your artistic agency, your creative agency, you have to run it in a way that you can be at your best because you're depleting your infinite source and your generative power. It is your creativeness that you're depleting, and it's also your artisticness that you're depleting. Don't think for one moment that you can scale your artistry and your creativity. If all of those 99 tabs are open, do you think that you can scale it out? Scaling means increasing. So if 1 unit of information is being asked of you, can you now produce 1 more unit of artistry and creativity? It doesn't work that way. Can you not perform more? It doesn't work that way. Can you achieve higher? It doesn't work that way. You get depleted. You get tired, you get frustrated. Now you start to be reactive. I don't have the time. My mind is full. It's too much. I'm stressed. But you are built as a human being to look for the results. You are a problem solver. When you look at the brain, and there's scientific proof for that as well, we are problem solvers. We look for the results. right? Result driven people. You have a numerous of people that are very much, you give them something and you say you have to sit here for 8 hours and do the work. Yeah, that's fine. That is one group of people. But then you have the group of people that are very much result driven, right? There's a particular task that leads to a result and it has to be done in a structured way, especially for people that are very much in their creative and artistic place. You definitely have to be able to respect that. It is a force, it is a power, and it works as a catalyst. It doesn't burn itself. It doesn't burn itself. A catalyst doesn't burn itself, but a lot of people get depleted because you're constantly using your own power instead of letting your power run free in a structured way. There has to be an infrastructure, there has to be a network, there has to be a way for you to manage it all. And it's not going to be in a 12-step program. That is not going to be in the next life where somebody's saying, I have a 12-step program for you. That only happens in a dedicated way. I had to take a breath in that. It happens in a dedicated way. It happens in a dedicated way. There has to be structure. There has to be organization in that. And funny enough, even though a lot of people who are, very much working from their artistic, creative, generative power, they're very much working from their place where they are visionaries. They see the result. They know what it is that they want. Um, it doesn't mean that everybody is built to work in a hierarchy. However, we all have been trained to be working in hierarchies because that is most of what the world looks for. There has to be a particular hierarchy. There has to be a top down way of working, of giving orders, of giving the okay, the approval, and the validation that what it is that you are doing is correct. What it is that you are doing is leading to a result that is correct, that is wanted, that is necessary. And that might also be the reason why, for a lot of people, not staying focused might be very much connected to the question, am I doing this right? Am I doing this the right way? Am I doing this in a way that I'm getting the result that I'm actually looking for? And I'm not just running around like a headless chicken. Mm. That also plays a role in it, which actually is to be placed under the heading fear. Fear of failure. Am I doing it right? Am I not doing it right? So that plays a huge role in it, and it's kind of just instructed into our culture, very culture in a strong way. We get it from the people outside of our personal space. So that means friends, peers, families, co-workers, colleagues, um, et cetera, et cetera. Very much it is connected to that. Am I doing it the right way? Because if I'm not doing it the right way, I'm not getting my reward, I'm not getting my result, yeah, I can't focus then. I need to know somewhere that I'm getting a result, right? I need to know somewhere where that I'm getting a jujube out of this, whether it's a physical, digital, or a metaphorical jujube. I'm getting something out of this. And when you are in structures, in environments, in ecosystems, as I like to call them, when you are in those environments and ecosystems where people are conditioned to get the instructions from someone else, somewhere else, so it can be another level, can be another person, somebody instructs you what to do and what to look for, then it's easy to maneuver also away from your own personal judgment and your intuition and your creative power. It has to coincide with what someone else or something else, another layer, is telling you what to do. So when people come into those spaces where they're like, well, I need to focus. Well, I can't focus. I can focus. There are, most of the time, there are underlying structures, but also beliefs having a toll. They're tugging at you, saying, "Hey, nobody gave you that permission, or you need to look for permission. You need to look for an answer. You need to look for an external validation of someone telling you that is correct." Not everybody works that way, but most of us have been conditioned to do it that way. And because we have been conditioned, there is where a particular group of people, the ones that I've mentioned during, this life, are saying, that doesn't work for me. But at the same time, I do need structure. I do need discipline. I do need to get the results that I'm looking for. Because eventually, you need to make money and pay your bills, right? You might have a team that you have to pay at the end of the month or at the end of the week. There are deadlines on your table that need to be met. And there also has to be some fulfillment coming from that as well. I know for this particular group that I'm talking about, founders, business owners, creatives, independent artists, agencies, so artistic, creative agencies, there has to be a certain level of fulfillment. The level of fulfillment is very strong, very, very present. And I can speak for that for myself as well. The level of fulfillment is just as important for me as having the stability of cash flow and income. When it comes to meeting the tasks that I need to do, but also the focus that I need to have. There also has to be a level of fulfillment intertwined in it. So when you are in structures that really don't, it's not about necessarily the fulfillment that you need to have, but more so get the job done and get it done well and get it done as fast as you possibly can. We need your reaction now, right? Don't worry about it. The standard operating procedures already here, just do the job. Then the level of fulfillment starts to dissipate. It starts to get less because it's less about what it is that you are getting fulfilled with and more about where it is that you need to be doing the work for. Very much so. And that definitely has to be food for thought. That definitely has to be food for thought for you to understand, well, that might be the reason why I'm not focusing. If there are three head categories, three headings: fear, control, and you just don't know what it is that you do. Not knowing, right? Not having the skills, not having the capacity to know what and understand what it is that your work is about, your goal is about. Not having that understanding, you can't focus. If you have been conditioned for people to tell you what to do, and now you're in the position where you have to tell you what to do, then no, you're not going to get focused, at least not in the beginning. But it's something that you can learn, it's something that is teachable. But you have to condition yourself because repetition is key. There is no magical pill, there's no magical answer where people are going to tell you, use this, and now you are set for life. If you look at most people who are very successful in what it is that they do, it is because they have a blueprint that is pretty flexible, that allows for them to build routine, to build the routine, and also make it accessible for their creativity and the artistry to flow in it. They have found a way where there is a dynamic between cash flow and fulfillment, or income and fulfillment, money and fulfillment. But that is because they have done this repetitively. They have seen it as a pattern and they understand as well. Maybe this is also very important to know. There is a particular cost of not being focused. There is a cost, not the cost of what you have to um, invest, but a cost of what you will be losing if you don't do it. And what you notice is that a lot of people feel that they have nothing to lose, not that much to lose, or they are covered. And that's why they don't feel that they have anything to lose. Well, for the group that I'm talking about, and it might be you, then that is not always the same case. So there is a particular cost if you don't understand that when you are not repeating your habit, if you're not repeating the way that you focus, if you don't train the way that you focus, you build the way that you focus. If you don't do that, there will be a cost that can be very expensive. It can be very expensive, very much so. But that also has to do with the fact when you know what it is that you're doing, when you know what it is that you're going for, when you know what it is that your result is, what you would like it to be, what it needs to be, then you also understand if I don't get that result, this is what will happen if I don't get to that result. You understand better what the cost might be, which also then explains one of the reasons why a lot of people can't focus because y'all don't understand what the disadvantage might be if you don't focus. Because right now, a lot of people think that the disadvantage of having FOMO, of being in control all the time, or not knowing what it is that you're doing, that it's very minimal. It's very small. I can deal with it until mañana comes, until tomorrow comes. And then it's like, ugh, had I done it. Here is another section that you have to think about as well. You are now, or you have already entered into the world of AI, of artificial intelligence. Very little things are now done analog, digital. No, we are now in a time, in an era of artificial intelligence. But if you have been very attentive, then you also know that for the people who have a high level of creativity, a high level of artistry, and you have this sense of authenticity with it, that you are actually winning in this particular time. You are very much winning in this particular time. Why? Because artificial intelligence is very much driven by the data that's coming from human beings. So what you get is that it is a huge data center that has information that can be copied, paste, and rearranged and recycled each and every single time. But the originality of what you possess as being the creator, the original algorithm, right? Your ancestral intelligence that is now being uploaded into artificial intelligence. You have that as the advantage over anybody else who is not willing or doesn't want to or doesn't know how to tap into that. They don't know how to tap into their creativity, into their intelligence, and into their artistry. They don't know how to tap into that. When you are capable of using resources like ChatGPT into your advantage and still preserve the authenticity of your power, your input, you are winning. But you do have to put that, of course, into work. I'm not saying you have to use ChatGPT. What I'm telling you is we will be looking at labor and at intelligence and at intellectual property differently. We already have been doing that. And if you're now catching up to it, you still got time, but it's going really fast. People are getting laid off like that. Now, whether it's political, whether it's because of economics, it just makes sense when it comes to numbers. You cannot deny the fact that each and every single layer of society, so that's the government, that these are corporations, these are organizations, schools, education, healthcare, finance, banking, is all being affected by artificial intelligence. So what do you think that that will do for you as well when it comes to focus? The world is already asking you to focus on a lot of other things than what you think is important right now. The world is now starting to condition your mind, your skill sets, your intellectual property, and as I like to name it as well, your intellectual labor. It will be now adjusted. Your focus to that will be adjusted. And if you are not in control on how you focus all of those elements, so your intellectual property, your intellectual labor, if you're working with AI, you are intellectually modulating a process, a software, a code. That's intellectual labor. If you're not capable of doing that, if you're not capable of focusing on how that works, then the world will tell you how it will work. And then saying that you are overwhelmed, you are frustrated, you are irritated, it's costing too much time, it's this and that, it's not going to suffice. And it will find its tentacles definitely in all sectors of the market, also in the already in the creative sector. And it also will definitely find its way in the artistic sector. How, I don't know, but I'm already prepared that it will find its way in the artistic sector, in the art sector, in the art market. So I am already moving and thinking in a way that I need to align myself properly so that I am focused on what matters. And that is delivering, of course, art to people. Thank you so much for the likes. Is delivering art to people in a way that they still can get to enjoy. They get the authenticity of who I am. They get the authenticity of what it is that I have to create. But that people also start to understand you are now in control, because the moment that the employee tells you, hey, we cannot train you, and sorry, but you are being made redundant because you don't have even the skills to focus on what it is that you need to do, you're going to be lost. So this is not to scare people. This is definitely to tell you, be aware, because I can't tell you what it is that you need to do. If you don't want to use AI, that's fine. Don't use AI. If you want to go back to analog, hey, go back to analog. I still believe that there is power in cursive writing, right? I still, I love doing this. Oh my God. I love doing this. Wait a minute. There's something in between my paper. Oh, there was a pen. I love using a notebook and writing in a notebook because I believe in writing. There is spelling is literally putting a spell to work, writing into work. This still has power. We all know that, right? This still has power. AI cannot override that. Computers tried to override that. Digital, your phone, your mobile phone tried to override that. Tablets tried to override that. And I like using my tablet. I'm not saying that I'm very savvy with my tablet, but I'm learning a lot of things. This still has power. So if, listen to that, if this still has power, then this still has power. And the reason why why you should acknowledge the fact that this has a lot of power is because AI cannot live without this. Yeah, that is artificial intelligence. You are ancestral intelligence. That's why this still holds power. But you do have to, no, not but, and you have to also start thinking, if I cannot focus, and the only way that I can focus is by watching 15-second videos, or the only way that I can focus is when somebody tells me, instructs me what it is that I need to do, or you are very heavy on how you are validated by external factors, then it can be quite hard. It's going to be challenging. I'm not going to say it's not impossible. I don't believe that. But it's going to be very challenging. So get ready. Thank you so much for the likes. I appreciate it. I so appreciate it. Appreciate that it's resonating. Right? Now I got 5 more minutes before I stop yapping. Yapping. But I hope that this really resonated with you all, which has actually, it leads me to the following. Next week, and I also have noticed it through the videos that I'm creating, because I'm very aware of it. And I'm also the type that looks at what works, right? If y'all are not responding to my videos and you're like, well, I don't know what it is that you're saying, that means that I'm not speaking in the right language. So what I'm noticing is that, and I said it in the beginning of the live, is that focus is a very important element for you all. Thanks so much for the likes. Focus is an important element, and people want to learn, how do I focus? How do I get better? Right? So if you understand that this is something that you have to do, it has to become a habit. You have to do it like brushing your teeth, taking a shower, and hope you take a shower every day, especially in this weather. I hope so. That is something that you have to build. You can build it, that you don't have to fight yourself to do it in a particular time. Time is, of course, essential, but it's not the end result. That you learn how to focalize yourself when it comes to what it is that you do, then I do believe that you are ready for the next step. And that is the masterclass that I'm going to set out. So the masterclass that I'm going to set out for next week will be tailored to focusing. How do you focus? So if you're an entrepreneur, you're a startup, you call yourself a founder, you're an independent artist, you are an independent creative, right? Maybe you're a freelancer, but maybe you're working with people. Maybe you're someone who's a community builder. You have a platform, you have a community, and you're leading people. So you want someone of influence. You're someone of leadership. You want to step more into a leadership role. You believe and you know that structure is necessary. You believe and you know that discipline is necessary. Then next week, Friday, will be the time that you can join into the masterclass on how to focus. And the way that I'm speaking right now, this is just the beginning. So if this is already where you're like, oh, wait a minute, my ears are going like this, you definitely want to meet up on Friday. The masterclass is something that you can RSVP for, right? So I want to suggest that you definitely go to this profile, follow. If you're on TikTok, follow me on TikTok. If you're on YouTube, follow me on YouTube. It's fine too. I will be creating videos where I will also be posting and remembering you. I already said repetition is important. I will be remembering you. I will be having live. So I'll be coming into the live and I will remember you. Hey, you have to RSVP for the masterclass. Yes, you can RSVP Friday. Now it's 15th, so that means next week, Friday is the 22nd of August. You can join in. The beauty of the masterclass is you can take the masterclass at any particular time when you want. So you don't have to sit and be tied to the chair that you're sitting in. No. The beauty of the masterclass is that I have a particular program where I like to work interactively with people. So it's definitely a way of education, development, but also repetition. My masterclass is for people who would like to have the information at hand. So that means you can start now, pause, continue. And I also suggest that you do that. I suggest that you do that as well. It has to do with the working of the brain. It has to do with the working of the brain, right? Another great thing about it is accessible at any particular moment. So if you want to work in the morning, you want to do it in the afternoon, you want to do it in the evening, that's fine. What I am saying is it will be ready for you on the Friday it launches, and you can start whenever you want to, right? And like I already said, very important, it's interactive. You don't have to listen, you don't have to download the software. You don't have to buy in software. It is online. So that means if you need to go to sleep because need to get ready for work, or you need to get ready for your next meeting, or whatever it is, thank you so much for the likes, then you can do that. You can get back to it. You can get it on your tablet, your laptop, your phone. Easy peasy. So you're not tied to anything. Not at all. And if afterwards you're still like, well, I still got questions, for the people who, this is just standard with me, for the people who join into the masterclass, there is always a free discovery call. Normally, you do pay for the discovery calls, but there's always a free discovery call. You always get a free discovery call with me. It's like a 15-minute conversation. We do it here on Teams. You might have a question. You might be dealing with something. You're like, well, you know what? After that, I'm now figuring out there are certain things that I'm dealing with. And what I also have for people who are joining into masterclass is that y'all always get 50% off for your first creative consult. Yes, your first creative consult. But that is only when you are SVP. So that means you go to the website. The link is in my bio. Right now you won't see it because I haven't launched it yet. But you will find the link in the bio, and I have a lot more resources. I have discovery calls, I have courses, I have free resources. I also have mailing lists that you can join into. I also have Creative Consult, and the Creative Consult is a 1-hour sit down, right? And if after that 1-hour sit down there are more questions, we get to that. We get to that, right? We get to that. All right, I've been yapping for so long, but I do want to thank you all for at least giving your attention and joining in. Thank you so much for the likes and the responsiveness to it. I really appreciate it. I will be speaking to you very soon. The masterclass for the focus, right? To build that focus, to construct a really good system for yourself, to focus is coming up. Yes. Follow the pages. So if you're on YouTube, follow YouTube. If you're on TikTok, follow TikTok. If you got questions, you can DM me. You can send emails. But I would suggest that you really RSVP to the masterclass. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Enjoy it. I will be talking to you very soon. Bye, y'all.